Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with former veterinarian and author, writer, Fred W. Scott. He's a PhD, former professor from Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine, founding director of Cornell Feline Health Center as well. He has been blessed beyond measure as a naive farm boy with the opening of one amazing door after another in his wonderful profession of veterinary medicine. We cover his colorful life. Enjoy this interview.
Well, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. It's great to meet you.
Yes, same here.
Get into your life as a veterinarian and a writer. I want to know, 4 years ago we were trying to figure out this pandemic, how we were going to get through it. How did you survive through the pandemic, and how did it change the way that you do things?
Well, I retired, so it really didn't affect me at all because we actually started building a family great hall here the fall before that. And I have a sawmill, and I was sawing lumber for the Great Hall all through the pandemic, and getting the Great Hall built. So it didn't affect me at all, actually.
So let's get into your career prior to retirement and even what you're doing now. And to do that, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third grade students at Career Day, and one of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Okay, well, I'm retired now, but when I was working full-time, I was a veterinarian at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Cornell University, and I was teaching, I was doing research, and my teaching involved teaching virology and viral diseases of animals to the veterinary students. And when I was traveling, I was doing the same, but it was infectious diseases, teaching infectious diseases of the cat to practicing veterinarians. We were at meetings all over the country. And so that was what I've been doing. And I was also, administrating and the director of the Cornell Feline Health Center. So a lot of things are going on.
Absolutely. So when you were in the third grade or when you were a kid, was your dream always to become a veterinarian, or what did you want to do?
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm, and so I, was around animals all the time, and the veterinarian would come to take care of the family farm, the animals, the cows. And I didn't select a veterinarian as my choice until I was third year or my junior year in high school.
So what did you like the best about being in that line of work? What was it that you look forward to the most every day?
Well, it was the interactions with in the research, the interactions with the animals and the testing and everything that we were doing on the animals. And then we were interacting with cat owners on the phone and with the local veterinarians. So it was a busy day.
So talk to me about your life right now as a writer. What is it that you're honing in on? What is it that you're really getting into right now as a writer?
Well, I've had a couple of years here when my health was not the best, and so I wasn't writing, and I'm sort of regrouping now, and I have one book that we wanted to republish. And we may get going on that. I did this with my wife, and she's not able to do very much at this point. So I'm I'll have to do it all by myself.
So what is the book about? Kind of talk to me a little bit about what the book's about.
Well, there's the book that we're thinking about redoing is. My wife had collected one-liners for 50 years, I guess. And then so I helped her put this together and then publish it. That was about 12, 14 years ago, I guess. But the title of it was, "If You Want to Soar with Eagles, Don't Hang Out with Turkeys. Gems for Christian Living."
So talk to me a little bit about heroes in your life. Who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration in your life?
Okay. Well, when I was growing up, of course, I loved to play in baseball and basketball, and so growing up in Massachusetts, New England, Ted Williams was a big guy. And like every boy growing up in New England, had dreams of playing baseball with the Red Sox, but reality set in very early, so I decided I better go to Plan B.
So were you good at baseball? How far did you go?
Well, because high school, and then we had a town team baseball. Every town in our area had a baseball team, so I played that with my two older brothers, and so I had a lot of fun. I made it onto the team at the University of Massachusetts, and I was a fourth string catcher, so I wound up, riding the bench, and so I didn't go very far there, but it was a lot of fun. Did that for 3 years, and then my senior year in college wasn't going to go anywhere, so I didn't continue.
So what's been one of the best baseball games you've ever seen in person?
Well, I see on television now. I made it only to see the Red Sox once or twice when I was a kid, because we lived 100 miles away, and we just didn't drive there to see a game in those days. And coming through, the Great Depression and World War II, and my folks didn't have any money to do anything extra. So,
gotcha. So, what was the motivation for you all of those years to be a veterinarian and to do all of the work you did? What got you up every day? What was the ultimate motivator?
Well, I just enjoyed all the work. I mean, it was fantastic. And then, when I became the doors opened for me, and I just said, boy, I'm very fortunate to be able to be in the right place at the right time. But, then I realized when I was 37 years old, I had a very dramatic encounter with the Lord, and where I had no interest in anything religious or anything else, and he changed all of that. So he was opening doors for me, and so the other book that I wrote on these different things was called Open Doors, to the Glory and Praise of God. And in that I wanted to really show how the Lord was so instrumental, even before I was a believer, in getting me into veterinary school, and and everything that happened, and just amazing open doors. And one of the things that happened was that I got some new, in the mid 1960s, the cat was just beginning to be important in veterinary medicine, and there was almost no research being done on infectious diseases of the cat. And I was plunked right in this research center here at Cornell that had been started the year before I started my graduate work. And we got some very good information about the most important disease in cats at that point. It's called feline panleukopenia, or commonly referred to as feline distemper. It really wasn't, there was no respiratory disease with that, so that was a misnomer. But anyway, I got information that was valuable relative to vaccination and protecting cats. And suddenly I was invited to speak at locally and the veterinary groups, and then state meetings, and then national meetings and international meetings and indoors. And I'm developing ways of how I could lecture to the practicing veterinarians. And of course, there were no computers at that point, and no PowerPoint things to develop slides, so it was a real challenge to try and get slides put together that I could use for these veterinarians. And so I traveled all over, lecturing to to practicing veterinarians, giving them the latest information on the feline infectious diseases. And of course, other people were doing research shortly after I was doing that, and they would have that information that I could add to the talks. And so, it might be a couple hours, it might be a half a day, and soon it was, 1, 2, or 3 days of just talking to a whole group of veterinarians. And so I just loved that, and I never had any public speaking. I was just learning on the fly. But I had a lot of fun interacting with the practicing veterinarians out there in the field.
So I know, as you mentioned a handful of times, the cats were your specialty. Did you pick cats, or did the cats pick you?
The Lord picked the cats, I think. That's what had happened, actually. I had a pet cat when I was growing up, and and we had a couple of pet cats for the family. I had my wife and 3 boys here, and we had a couple of cats usually.
So, of all of the things that you've done in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Well, it was the research that I did on the panleukopenia, and getting that information out to the veterinarians. And 50 years later, I was trying to contemplate how this happened, how I wound up going up these veterinarians all over the place. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, I placed you in the epicenter of feline infectious disease research so you could do this research on panleukopenia and then get that information out to the veterinarians in order to totally control the disease. Wow, that hit me, But that was 50 years after I had done the work, and it was absolutely true. That's what actually happened. And that panleukopenia went from the most devastating disease in cats in 1965. By 1975 or 80, the disease was totally controlled by the veterinarians that were practicing the vaccinating the cats out there in their practices.
So if anyone out there wants to get a hold of your books, they want to reach out, learn more about you, where's the best place to go?
Well, I have a website. If you go to fredwscott.com/, it will give you the website, and there's an interview in there that I've described with Logan Crawford, and then there's the books that we have are listed there. So they're all on Amazon, of course.
Fred, I'm glad we connected. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.